This week, every major media company in America walks onto a stage and makes one pitch: sports. NBC leads with Sunday Night Football, Disney leads with the Super Bowl on ESPN, Fox leads with NFL ratings up 27% on their network. Amazon leads with Thursday Night Football viewership up 60% since launch. YouTube is now the world's most valuable media company at $62 billion in revenue, and the NFL is announcing its 2026 schedule midweek, including its games on Netflix, YouTube, and Amazon for the first time in a single season. This is the episode where the show's thesis collides with the global media landscape. Sports is the last moat in traditional media, and the companies, technologies, and infrastructure that serve sports environments, the assets that really we love to invest in and love to talk about, are riding the most structurally important wave in entertainment. This is Playbooks and Portfolios with your hosts, Sean and Liam Clifford. We're back. We are back.
Jumping into it a little bit here. First, Sean, you want to hit quick highlights from the weekend with Clifford X Factor Camp? How'd it go?
Yeah.
Saw some pictures, saw some content. Looked awesome.
There's going to be tons of content coming out here soon, but I mean, you know how camps are. Like, you build a camp all the way up. You work months and months and months on it. And then in like the last waking days, you get a little bit nervous. Are the kids going to show up? Are we going to have a big turnout? I put it on Teamworks. Am I only going to get one guy from the Bengals to show up? None of that proved true. Everything went honestly perfectly planned. Shout out to pro camps. Amazing. Wally Vickers, got to give him a shout out. Him and his team put on an absolute show. We had over 150 kids at the camp. We had 7 Bengals at the camp. And I got raving reviews from parents, kids, sponsors. The list goes on and on. It was an amazing weekend, to say the least. Had a ton of fun. And yeah, the content will be coming out. We were on TV. Ted Karras was up there talking about Clifford X Factor Camp since he had. I mean, it was just like a really feels good type weekend, and couldn't have been happier to do it back in the city. 3rd annual. Liam, we miss you, that's for sure. But it was so much fun.
Seeing all the pictures and videos brought a smile to my face. Raised $10,000 for Ted's organization too, which is awesome.
Yep.
But yeah, like the whole weekend was getting comments on my Instagram of parents saying how much fun their kids had, which is always cool to see. So
yeah, I think my personal favorite was we had all the kids line up in two pretty much pools, and then we had the runway just wide open. And I told a kid to run a post corner. When I tell you, this kid went up and mossed somebody. The whole I'll make sure that post is up on my social media at some point. It already was on a story, but if you missed it, check it out. Place went bananas. It was so much fun, and the energy was real. We had Evan McPherson picking the kid up and running him through. Shout out to all my teammates. I'll give the list real quick of who showed up. Really thankful for them all. Dylan Fairchild, Evan McPherson, Kendall Milton, Mitch Tinsley, Dalton Reisner, Ted Karras, and myself. So that was the 7. And it was shout out to all those guys. They put so many smiles on so many kids' faces. You should have seen these kids. Like, they were over the moon. And you know what was really funny is it's like our camp, a Clifford X Factor camp, our pictures are up on like the big board. And then I'm walking out and a kid comes up because we passed out trading cards at the end of like signed trading cards. And a kid comes up and he's like, "Wait, coach, this is you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I didn't even know that."
He was just there for the drills. He wanted to get better. He didn't care.
He was there for the 6 other Bengals, I'll tell you what. And I'm happy he was, because the kids were awesome. I mean, could not ask for a better weekend. Awesome. 70 and sunny, no cloud in the sky, beautiful day. It was just awesome all around.
We're going to have to post that clip because we'll post it. You got posted on your page, and we'll post it on the pod Instagram page as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll pull that clip. But yeah, shout out to St. Xavier High School. Really cool. Met Brian Parker today, Liam. He says, what's up.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. We just started phase 2, week 2. We're on the field doing drills. The rookies are in now, so all of them are bright-eyed and running around like a chicken with their head cut off a little bit, but I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday, it was the same way, so I'm happy for everybody and excited to, kinda get back into football too, because working out is great, you know it, Liam, but it's just better when you're throwing a football. It just is better.
No doubt.
So happy about that. But jumping into segment one of the pod this week, Upfronts Week is in New York. Sports is really all they have left when it comes to TV production. But for everybody who doesn't know what Upfront Week is, so every May, TV networks pitch advertisers on why they should buy ad time for the next year. And it's the single biggest annual transaction in the advertising industry. Billions of dollars committed in 1 week. And this year, every single pitch leads back to the same thing, sports. And I'll just rip some data points here for everybody, all the viewers. Sunday Night Football, most watched show for 15 consecutive years, 6.85 million adults between ages of 18 and 49. Average primetime entertainment show is 391,000 adults. That's a 17.5x gap between anything else on the market right now. Fox NFL ratings, highest on the network since 2015. Amazon Thursday Night Football viewership is up 60% since 2022 when they launched. YouTube, $62 billion in total revenue, surpassing Disney's
Right.
60.9. World's most valuable media company now. They've added sports, obviously. YouTube now claims 12.5% of all US TV viewing. Disney asking for $10 million per 30-second Super Bowl ad. I mean, the list goes on and on. Liam, what's your take really when it comes to live television now? Because I do think that personally, live TV like is gripping and trying to find every nook and cranny, and sports is like the last hurrah for them. What's your thoughts? How are you feeling? How do you feel about where television is going in the future and how sports plays into it?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question. And I think when we peel back the layers, I mean, it's no secret. I don't know. There's not many times I sit down and throw on some live TV. I don't hate it. I'm not a guy that hates on live TV, but it doesn't happen very often. And I don't think it happens for a lot of people. Because typically you're on a streaming service watching your favorite show on Netflix or YouTube TV or whatever it
Right.
is. So it is rare. But like you mentioned, I mean, sports is kind of the only thing keeping that and allowing it to hang on. I mean, you read the stat here, 6.85 million adults watching Sunday Night Football compared to the average primetime entertainment show of 391,000. That's a 17.5x gap. That's an insane stat. When you think back years ago, all people had was live TV. That's how you got your news. That's how you got everything. But now you have all these different streaming services. And that's where, when honestly, I didn't even, to be honest, know that this weekend is a thing where all these companies come and pitch in New York for the TV spots, and it shows you how big of a deal this weekend is and how much money is involved in this weekend specifically, where a lot of these companies are going to strike some huge deals with different sports outlets and Sunday Night Football and all these different things. So it's just crazy. And I do think that live TV, to answer your question, is definitely declined a ton. But with that is YouTube is reaping the benefits of, like you just
Yeah,
said,
right.
a bigger company than Walt Disney now, and it's because of all the things that they've been able to provide outside of just looking up things on YouTube. They now have YouTube TV and YouTube Movies and all these different things that you're able to go on and use, and it's just a testament to the pivot of YouTube and being able to kinda overcome some of these things that take advantage of what has kinda declined in live TV to now.
Yeah, and I think if I'm an advertiser, social media is obviously the place where advertising reigns, right? Everybody goes to social. You'll have the ads, you'll have the influencer ads, you'll have spots where they're just trying to blend some sort of media within a short or a little bit of a long form. But I think what's really important moving forward when it comes to live television is the fact that it's the only place where you hold, I mean, and like we said, 16.85 million adults for Sunday Night Football. To hold almost 7 million adult attention spans for a 3 hour period, that is unheard of nowadays. Like everybody's attention span is going. Everybody is swiping, swiping, swiping on their social media, and it's just the next clip, it's the next clip, it's the next clip. It's the one place that's left where you get somebody's viewership the whole time. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people go to the bathroom during the TV break, or they're chatting. But to be honest with you, I don't know if you've been watching sports like I've been watching sports, but some of the ads are really good. Like enjoy watching the commercials. Juliana and I will watch the commercials and have comments, and some of them are hilarious, and some of them are intriguing and tell stories. And I feel like that's where advertisers have done a really good job of using live television. It's almost like a movie. Like you're just trying to grab that whole attention, that whole 3 hour span. And I think that the way that it's going, it'll only continue to get better, and sports will be the only place that it continues to hold true because, like we know, I mean, there's no other way to splice sports. You know, you have to have it live. You have to have that feeling of I have to watch it live or else I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss the conversations in the morning when everybody's talking about it. So I think that it's although live television is losing its stake and claim in the media world, I do believe that it's better than it ever has been when it comes to actually converting viewers into some sort of sale, whether you're advertising, whether you're trying to get them on a streaming service, or if you're trying to just gain their attention in some way, shape, or form, just get their attention on some sort of media rights. I do believe that it's the best it's ever been.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and it's actually interesting, like, I don't know if you've noticed, and I feel you alluded to it a little bit, but it seems like especially when it comes to sports, whether it's you're watching it on YouTube TV or whatever you're watching live TV on, it's typically YouTube TV for me, but when they cut to ads, it seems and maybe I'm just paying attention to it more, but it seems way more well thought out nowadays than it used to be where it's just
Yes.
like a bunch of random commercials and you never wanna watch it, to where now it's like things that are actually involved with what you're watching. Like if it's a golf chant tournament and there's all these different ads that have something to do with golf that all the viewers are actually interested in. It just seems way more targeted and well thought out. And that might be a YouTube TV thing specifically, because like I said, that's kind of where I'm watching when I'm watching live TV. But it's crazy. And then you think about the Super Bowl and you look at obviously every year everyone knows everyone loves to watch the commercials. Some people watch the Super Bowl just for the commercials. I think
Right.
immediately to Claude, Anthropic. Like they literally crushed it with the ads this year, kind of going back and forth with ChatGPT, and it was entertaining and people loved it. And then you saw their growth pretty much immediately after that skyrockets. Like you said, sports is holding it together with live TV, and you can't splice it any other way. Like you can't. It has to be live. You can't recreate or make things fake or AI it. It's not going to go anywhere, and that's why this weekend is ultimately such a big weekend in New York with what's going on.
So I don't know if you meant to do this, but getting into our next segment, speaking of Claude, but Brian Kelly, potentially with the quote of the year, at least for me personally, I am a huge AI enthusiast. You know me. And now we have head coaches using AI. But quote by Brian Kelly: I'm trying to do my due diligence using Claude and AI. What in the world is Brian Kelly using Claude for? I don't know, but it
Right.
is pretty cool to say the least. And I'd like to throw you a question here, Liam. If you're a head coach of a football team, and then I'd also like to spin it if you're an athletic director, but those two personas, head coach and athletic director, how would you utilize AI, we'll say Claude, in the current moment to support your football team?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's a crazy question that we're even at the point where we're asking these things, but it's true. And as the guy that looks into all of the potential companies that I'm the one with the fund that when companies reach out, I'm the one vetting them and meeting with all the founders, as I think people know by now. And I've actually seen a lot of companies, a couple to be exact, that have reached out that are trying to start AI companies, specifically in football, and they're trying to solve certain issues that a lot of coaches have to deal with, or scouts, or people in the recruiting department, and all these different things that you can kind of automate now with AI. So to answer the question, I think for me, if I was a coach specifically, I would probably use AI for a lot of the things that you can automate when it comes to charting plays. And for viewers that don't know, like after practice, there's always a couple interns on the team that have to go in, literally categorize every single play, have the play type, the coverage, what like happened on the play, the down and distance, all these different things, and then put it and tag it, and then it goes to that way. Then when the players go in to watch film later, it's all like updated into whatever you're using, Exos, Catapult, and then it's easy for them to use. But on the back end, these interns have it's like literally a nightmare for them of having to chart some of these things and keep track. And I've met with a couple companies that are actually trying to solve that issue through AI. But for me, if I was a coach, that's probably something I would use to solve is a lot of the play tracking and charting, because that's always been done manually for the most part. So that's the first thing. And then from an athletic director perspective, I think the obvious answer is just kind of from a financial perspective of being able to use for all the teams and all the NIL going on across every single team, not just football, but all the teams. There's a lot of ways you utilize AI. There's a lot of ways that if you're using Claude specifically in Brian Kelly's case, that you could create a cowork that goes into Excel and just runs your finances for you, and you could get rid of probably somebody that you hired, sadly, but maybe not sadly, to save some money to then be able to give a guy another $500,000 on the football team to get him to come to your schools. There's definitely ways that you can save money using and implementing AI into the athletic departments to then be able to, in return, get more money on your return on investment when you're paying some of these athletes. But those are kind of the two that come to mind right away. I'll flip it to you, Sean. Same question. How would you use it first as a coach and then second as an athletic director?
All right, I'm gonna get like super granular here and like kind of spacey, but this is my take. If I was a coach, I would find a way to put all of the intangibles, both physical, mental, emotional, of every player into the AI. And I would try to build a perfect roster specifically around those intangibles. And then on a week to week basis, I would find a way to take all the plays that I have and then run it through AI. So that way, every single player, specifically the skilled players, are in the perfect play every single time. So if like I'm going into a week and I'm trying to get my fastest guy on an inside fade and I don't want to scrub it, I'd much rather watch all the tape. I'd much rather kind of practice my play calls. I just want all my plays to go into AI and pretty much take itself on and say, hey, this is exactly, here's your roster, here's what the perfect build out of a game plan would look like. That's how I would use AI. I think it'd
So
be really cool.
you would be an extremely analytical coach. You're not going with any gut feeling, or
No, no,
you like
no. Don't get me wrong. You're taking me the wrong way. I'm saying that I would prepare throughout the week, very analytical and technical, but then I would go the Matt LaFleur method, like at the end of the day, the Sean Mannion method. I learned it from these guys. At the end of the week, on a Friday and a Saturday, getting ready for a Sunday football game, I would go through the game. I would see a clip and I would call a play. I would just go through a whole game plan and I would just call and call and call and just repeat and repeat and repeat of me calling instinctually, not with AI. I'm not saying in the games that I'm using AI to call my plays. I'm going to be, at the hip with all my play calls, just going to feel it out, see how the players are going. I'll tell you what, AI won't be able to tell me if somebody's got a bum ankle. Oh, that's just not how it's going to work. Maybe one day. But I would take all the analytical pieces of it, and then I would take that to the field and I'd let the bullets fly. Now on the athletic department perspective, this would be the biggest cost-cutting, cost savings. I think you were kind of getting to it, but from an infrastructure perspective, Liam, I would run our P&Ls through Claude at a clip, and I would find every nook and cranny of talk about Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. Like it would be the Doge of athletic departments. Like it would just scrub the entire athletic department and find every way that we could be more efficient within our funds. I think that would be the perfect utilization of AI. Call me up, Brian Kelly. I got some thoughts, but
I would
that's my
love
take.
to hear what Brian Kelly specifically is using.
Well, I would love to hear what he's defining as due diligence. That's my thing.
Yeah, is he scouting? Is he helping with his the playbook and the scouting for that week? Like, what exactly is he doing? What is due diligence? Maybe he's pivoting and going into business, I don't know.
Do think Brian Kelly is an investor, a potential investor in the New Era Fund?
With that quote, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, we're looking for his solutions to his problems. So, Brian, if you're listening, about a 0.001% chance he's listening, especially to this point in the podcast. But if he's listening, you can find me on LinkedIn. Honestly, that's the best place I don't know if he's on LinkedIn. But moving on to segment 3 of the pod, where sports revenue is actually going, the infrastructure opportunity. I just want to talk about. So PwC put out a study, and they kind of put together the infrastructure map of sports. I'm going to read the 4 categories. You have creator-led sports content, which is growing the fastest by everybody. Sports sponsorship diversification, experiential and hospitality, and then performance and health technology. Liam, out of those 4, I know that creator-led sports is, at least on paper, as the fastest growing. What's your take as the place to lean in the most? Like, where do you think the best return on capital is? Where do you think sports goes in the future? And where do you think that which lane would you lean into the most with the newest movements when it comes to capital infusion sports and the new era of it?
Yeah. I mean, I think the easy answer is the first one, which is the creator-led sports content. And the reason I say it is when you look at golf specifically is huge. And I think we all kind of know it. A lot of people, at least myself and a lot of people I know and I'm close with, they love watching some of the golf content. People like Good and Bob Does Sports and all these different groups. And even Bryson DeChambeau, some of the pros are getting into making YouTube and all these different things. So and it's cool to see. And the reason that's my answer is because statistically, like the PGA Tour literally just changed their content rules. And I'll read a couple of these things. So players are now able to post up to 3 minutes of self-captured content per day, which is increased from 2 minutes before. Players are permitted to post up to 6 shots per round from the broadcast, up from 1 shot previously. The limit for YouTube highlights has increased to a total of 120 total minutes on a channel, previously 60 minutes. So it's just a lot of different things now that specifically in the golf world that they're trying because of outside people that aren't on tournaments but are making golf content, how well they're doing. I think the PGA is seeing that and they're now kind of getting behind that and allowing some of the athletes to also post content. For people that have seen it, maybe I haven't actually watched it yet, but I've seen clips of it, is Chasing Sunday, the new kind of golf hard knocks type style show. That's super cool and something that is gaining traction. It goes beyond golf though. There's a lot of content creators that have been around for years. There's basketball guys. I think back, there's a guy named Lethal Shooter that is a big basketball hoop content creator that I remember. Like it's been around for forever. I think golf specifically is growing the most because it's just a sport that's growing. The content's allowing younger kids to get into it. I'm here in Cincinnati at home, and literally the driving range up here, Sean, we live on TPC. The driving range up here, I go up there later in the day sometimes, and it is literally all kids after school that are probably anywhere from 10 to 15 years old, and they're all striping the ball. Like these kids are good. And I'd have to imagine a part of the reason that they're up there is because of some of the golf content they're seeing all the time when they're on social media, specifically because of this creator-led sports content and how fast it's growing. So that's my take. I'll throw it to you. What out of those 4 categories, what do you think is growing the most and what should be leaned into the most?
I think the creator-led sports content obviously is smart and is great. The experiential and hospitality is the most underutilized just because I think of now I say this being a guy who's driving in and then has like my work day is on a Sunday, so I'm not like experiencing the atmosphere all the time. And I think that it is changing. But the stadium districts, as they continue to expand, I believe that that's where you're going to get more. And I love this premium match day experiences driving yield per fan. Like that's a hell of a stat to be honest with you. Experiences driving yield per fan. I think that in a world where everybody is terrified of the AI wave, what the economy is doing, the wars, like there's so much going on. Sports is an amazing place where everybody can come together. I quote James Franklin all the time in this, and I do really appreciate him for saying this back in 2020. But sports is, and specifically the locker room, is the one place where it doesn't matter what your background is, what your ethnicity is, who you are as a person. All that goes out the wayside. All that matters is the fact that you're trying to win for the city that you play for and for the team that you play for. And it's a melting pot of people within that locker room. But at the end of the day, all that matters is just coming together and winning a game. And it's basic, but it does signal to the rest of the world like what it looks like. You know, what it looks like at its best of its best. That's what I've loved about being on a team for as long as I have and been blessed to be able to be on a team because you just get to experience so many different people every single day. Like in my wedding alone, like you had Sam Demler, who's in the back right now producing the podcast, next to Max Rains, who's also in the back producing the podcast, to then Tariq Castro Fields from Maryland. Would never have met Tariq, or KJ Hamler, or Fred Hansard. Like the list goes on and on of just guys that I've got to know, live with, shared suffrage with. It's a beautiful thing. So the more that you can bring that type of experience to people on game days of we all have our differences, we all have our during the week, things are going to be crazy. But when you come together to watch the Cincinnati Bengals play football or the Penn State Nittany Lions play football, that all goes out the wayside. And now it's about just cheering on the team. I think it's a great way to continue to bring this country together, and it's cool to be able to do it through sports. So that's where I would really lean into. And then I would say, Liam, let's talk about our lane, like specifically performance and health technology. Like that's the lane that we see all the time. Where are you? Where? Just share with the viewers where we lean in and how these teams think about that category.
Yeah, I mean, specifically where we lean in from a fun perspective with what we have going on with the business is anything that advances human health, human performance, human potential. And that expands, obviously touches sports in a huge way. And you see these companies grow a lot in sports, but where there's the real growth and the kind of the stick growth is when it starts to touch other industries, specifically consumer. Like is in my opinion, healthcare and consumer is where there's tons of growth. But if you can get something that starts in sports and is validated and you have athletes using it, I mean, it's the typical example we're going to talk about all the time on this, but Whoop, like it started in sports. It got their brand in sports. They had Patrick Mahomes wearing it, LeBron James wearing it, and now you have anybody walking down the street, you're probably going to see someone wearing a Whoop. And that's where like there's a lot of things and a lot of potential specifically in that realm. Um, these four categories, there's a lot. They're all growing specifically, and I think that
Yeah.
sports is easy to hit on. I think the hospitality is one that's kind of underlooked, like you said, but performance and health technology is only growing and it's growing at a clip. Like it's growing really fast. There's more and more companies that I'm seeing every single day that are doing something similar, but trying to find a new way to differentiate themselves or just doing something similar and trying to dominate the space. Like people are coming into this world and they're coming in fierce and they know that it's because of the things that can be accomplished specifically in sports. And it's cool to see how it continues to keep growing. You also hit on something. I don't want to gloss over it was the way that you kind of see sports as this melting pot. And a perfect example is coming up here in I think a month or so is the White House card with UFC. Like when has that ever happened? That's never happened. We're having a huge event of a sport that's growing, a sport that is a fighting combat sport where you're bringing in people from everywhere, not just the United States. I mean, literally everywhere across the entire world, and they're going to be fighting on the White House lawn. Like that is really cool. I don't care what you believe in, what your political stance is, what race you are. Like it doesn't matter when we're coming together. The whole nation's gonna be watching a group fight on the United States White House lawn. It's pretty cool. Maybe I'm biased, but that's like it got to be one of the coolest sporting events in the history of at least since I've been alive for sure.
No doubt, and we have a personal connection with Bo Nickel fighting
Yep.
on the card, which is crazy, and it'll be fun to watch that day. I think also speaking of Penn State, going back to just I know it's kind of going back to the very beginning of this conversation with the creator-led sports content, but you know who's been a great person to follow has been Katie Feeney and her uprising. Like, she being at Penn State, I just remember she was, like, all into TikTok, like, just the dances and, you know, getting her brand out there. And now she's like the youngest woman on ESPN, just driving all these viewers, Gen Z viewers specifically, to these different platforms. I think you're going to continue to see that. I think you'll see the same way that we see companies pivot from just sports into these different lanes of human health, human potential, human performance. I think you'll also see creators, like young creators that you watched as a younger guy or a younger girl. Elk is a perfect example as well. Like we watched those prank videos. They were just prank videos. And now Kyle is running 100-mile marathons with Brad Kraut, another guy that we know personally. Not only doing that, but then he's trying to now what is he? He's trying to be a scratch golfer. Like, it's crazy what these content creators are doing. But you're seeing like this really just melting pot of like once you can grab an audience and you can engage them, now the world is your oyster and you can go in every which way direction to then engage them even more and just also just give them an inside track to what's happening in your life because I feel like it's motivational. I think that that's one of the good things about social media. If you follow the right people, it does show how you can transform yourself and it's not going to take a couple months. Like it'll be years and years and years, but you can go from working a sales job or playing a sport or being in politics to then jumping in a whole new category and dominating it and adding value to the world. And I think that that's a really cool trend to follow. It's a little bit even further from creator-led sports, but shout out to Katie Feeney. Shout out to, you know, Nelk and I think that all the creators that are doing some really cool things in the space. Liam, anything else on the infrastructure map as we close up that segment?
No, I mean, content is king. It always has been. The thing that I don't know if worries me, but the thing that's interesting is just like Does AI disrupt this? Is it gonna get hard to be like it already kind of is, like, is it hard to believe what is real, what's a real person, what's not a real person? Is that gonna change the outlook on some of these content creators and things that people have built that you just spoke on, or is it only gonna enhance it? We'll see, but those 4 categories we mentioned continue to grow, and this one specific that jumps off the page is the creator-led sports content.
For last segment, and I do wanna touch on this. The NFL schedule is dropping here soon. Netflix, YouTube, and the new map. The NFL is announcing its 2026 schedule this week. For the first time, games will be distributed across NBC, ESPN, ABC, Fox, CBS, Amazon, Netflix, and YouTube in a single season. Crazy. But I do want to point at the overarching intelligence is not really the word. I would just say the unbelievable marketing department that the NFL has, because people are talking about it left and right. And I feel like what they've been able to do, and we hit on it last week with the pod. We talked about how we talked about the Big 12 schools and the credit line, the $30 million credit line that they now have. And if they could then push that into women's sports or Olympic sports or other sports other than football and do big drops in the offseason of this player signed for $500,000 or $1 million, that is grabbing attention in the offseason and then leads to the season and where the real viewers are had. I'm excited to see if we play overseas. I'm excited to see who we play on a Monday night or a Thursday night, all those different things. But I think that this is kind of a good way to view not only sports, but also like your brand and how to really, in the down months, how to drive attention and find different ways and nooks and crannies to really go down to engage your viewers, engage your fans, find different topics to talk about, and just continuously grab that attention, leading to the most pivotal times. Liam, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, you mentioned the one big thing, and it's international games. And there's a stat pulled up here. It's Netflix is getting week 1 Australia game, which I didn't even know was a thing, Sean, but 49ers are playing the Rams in Australia. Is that accurate, or is that potentially
Sam in the background. That's accurate? Wow. A nod from
inaccurate?
Sam.
So
Yes,
that's I
accurate.
mean, that alone, and then obviously Netflix also getting Thanksgiving Eve game, and then also 2 Christmas Day games. But just the fact that the NFL is playing in Australia, like what, like this, I mean, it's just the sports ecosystem is becoming more and more international, and it's cool to see. I mean, I was just talking to somebody and they were telling me how the Jaguars owner is potentially trying to bring them to Europe, which who knows if that'll actually happen. But like the fact that they're even having conversations of that, it's just growing. It's growing so rapidly, and it'll be really interesting to see when we sit back in 5 years, 10 years from now, where sports will be at. Will it be the NFL will have teams across the entire world? Will it be like it's just interesting to think on because it just continues to grow.
And I'll share my story. So we played down in Brazil week 1 against the Eagles. And so we fly down 2 days before, have a good time. I will be honest with you, we were not allowed to even leave the hotel, so I didn't really get to experience Brazil in any way, shape, or form. When we walked off the bus, the first thing that I to the hotel, the first person that I saw had an M16. So it was lockdown to say the least. I will say this about the game experience as a whole. Now, the field, we got to clean up the field. We got to clean up the way that the game actually was ran. But it's interesting for 2 reasons, and I'll say my 2 thoughts on this. Driving in the game, I don't know if my teammates, I'd love to. I should actually shoot a text and get some opinions on this. But driving into the game, the one thing that I noticed was people didn't know what to do. People had, you talk about game day experience, like around the stadium. People were walking away from the stadium. Like people had no idea what to do, where to go. Like there's so much revenue and so much opportunity out in those other countries when they go to these places to put experiential ops around the stadium and to make them engaged in the actual game day. The second that was really interesting was there's still a learning curve. Like there wasn't the cheering on the touchdowns happened and they were rooting for us because we were the colors of Brazil, I guess, supposedly. So like they were rooting for the Packers like majority. But if you look in the stands, you noticed that there wasn't really Packers or Eagles gear on. It was just like every NFL team known to man, like just pull it's like NFL day. Just bring out whatever jersey that you have. And then also what I always thought was funny was whenever the ball was kicked, kickoff, punt, field goal, extra point, it was like the end of the game. Like it was insane. because it was just it's funny because I mean soccer, football is the name of the game out in these other countries. Like that's always how it's been. Basketball similar as well, but they find their little ways to engage with the sport. They didn't know every little detail. Even at the very beginning, I know I'm kind of going in a rabbit hole here, but like even at the very beginning, I remember now that I'm talking about it, there was a description. Like Roger Goodell was talking over an animation of like how the rules are and like what's going on. So there's a huge learning gap that's happening across every single country and the ones that are now getting football and the NFL. So that'll only continue to develop. And that'll be when I think that you'll see another ginormous spike of viewers and revenue and just gained attention is when people really start to understand what the NFL is all about, the history of the NFL, the teams, and actually what's going on a game to game perspective. But
It
just thought I'd throw that in there because you're right. Like there is a lot of market share to grab.
it's an untapped market, you're right, and it is growing, and you're seeing players actually take advantage of it and try to help the cause. I mean, our good friend Sean Jordan Love he was over in, I think it was Japan, with doing a camp over in Japan this offseason. And then I just saw Justin Jefferson was over somewhere in, I think it was China or Asia, doing a camp, and kids were loving it. I actually saw some nasty routes from some of these guys too. So it's cool to see how people are adopting the sport and how it's continuing to grow. And I know we're talking specifically just football, but it's just a testament to sports and the whole sports ecosystem as a whole.
No doubt. International Super Bowl from our producer Sam in the background. That's the question. I highly doubt that we would. Let's put an over under here, Liam. Over under 30 years
30 years.
until the Super Bowl isn't not in the United States. Are you taking the over or the under? And what's cool is we're in 2026, so we're saying 2056. The Clifford Sons, hopefully one day, will they be playing in a Super
Dude,
Bowl in a different country? Your thought, over under. I want a direct answer.
I'm gonna say under because the reason being, not because I don't want to see it happen. I actually would kind of love to see that happen. I think it would be cool. But reason being, I don't think the United States is gonna just give that up. I don't think we're gonna let somebody else take the Super Bowl from us. We'll see when money comes into play. You never know, and depending on how much the sport grows, kind of across international lines here. But I'm gonna go over. It's gonna be over 30 years.
Oh, so you're going over now.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. I meant that it wasn't gonna happen. Did I say under? I meant
You
over.
said under.
I meant over, and for the reason being that I don't think the United States is gonna give up the Super Bowl.
I'm gonna go. With Sam's comment in the background. I am going to go under, but like plus or minus 2 years. Like it'll be right on the cusp of like 2050, and maybe it's like this grand, huge event
I mean,
saying 2050 is the year, and like that'll be
yeah, I
the
could see
opportunity.
it. I could see it. I mean, we saw Bad Bunny performing here at the Super Bowl. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a huge event Super Bowl wise in some massive stadium in Europe or somewhere that they build another stadium in Saudi Arabia or somewhere. I wouldn't be shocked. And
Or
again,
Qatar, Doha, Qatar. We'll plug up Doha right now.
yeah,
Doha's a beautiful place to play a Super Bowl.
would be really cool actually. But again, I'm not opposed to it. We'll see. I just don't know if I see America giving up the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl.
We'll run the poll. We'll run the poll right here. What do you think over under 30 years from now? So 2056 over under 2056, will there be a Super Bowl played internationally?
I'm going over.
And I'm going under. Well, this was a great episode. Thank you for tuning in. From playing the game to owning a piece of it, you can find us at Playbooks_Portfolios. Please give us a follow, a like, a comment. All the engagement is super helpful. We will see you next week. Sean and Liam Clifford, we're out.